Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to speak to the hearts of those who feel the weight of loss, disappointment, and dreams deferred. The title of this message is God Will Restore What You've Lost in 2025. As we step into this new year, let us pause and reflect on a truth that transcends time. Nothing is truly lost in the hands of God. What appears to be taken away, broken, or delayed is never beyond His power to redeem, rebuild, and restore. As we stand on the threshold of 2025, it's important to recognize the significance of this moment in our lives. Every year carries its challenges, triumphs, and lessons, but this year is different. This is a year of divine renewal, a season where the broken pieces of your life will be mended, your spirit will be refreshed, and what seemed irretrievably lost will be restored. Renewal is not just a concept, it is a process through which God breathes new life into what was once barren, stale, or forgotten. It's an invitation to embrace transformation, to let go of despair, and to step into a future filled with possibility. Divine renewal begins with perspective. Often we focus so intently on what we've lost that we fail to see what remains. The empty spaces left by loss can feel overwhelming, but those same spaces are where renewal begins. They are not voids meant to torment us. They are opportunities for God to work in ways we cannot yet imagine. Loss is not the end of the story. It is the canvas upon which God paints restoration. Renewal starts the moment we shift our gaze from what we lack to what God can do. This year, renewal requires a willingness to surrender the weight of the past. Too often we cling to the pain of our losses, the bitterness of unmet expectations, and the fear that things may never improve. But holding on to these burdens keeps us from receiving the new things God wants to bring into our lives. Renewal is an act of trust. It's saying, God, I don't understand why this happened, but I believe you can make something beautiful from it. Letting go is not forgetting or dismissing the pain. It is making room for healing and growth. God's process of renewal is rarely instant. Just as seasons take time to shift, so does the work of restoration. Imagine a barren tree in the dead of winter. Its branches are stripped of leaves and appears lifeless. But beneath the surface, unseen to the human eye, the roots are drawing nutrients, preparing for the burst of life that spring will bring. In the same way, when it feels like nothing is happening, God is at work. Renewal often begins beneath the surface in the quiet spaces of our hearts, where God is nurturing our faith, strengthening our character, and preparing us for the blessings ahead. In this season of renewal, God is calling you to partner with Him. Divine renewal is not something that happens to us passively. It is a journey we take with God. This requires faith to believe that what was lost can be restored, faith to act even when the outcome is unclear, and faith to trust God's timing. Renewal invites you to step forward, even if the steps feel small. Maybe it's forgiving someone who hurt you, reaching out for help, or daring to dream again. These acts of faith may seem insignificant, but they are the seeds that grow into the harvest of renewal. One of the most remarkable aspects of divine renewal is its ability to surpass our expectations. When God restores, He doesn't merely give us back what we lost, He gives us something greater. Consider the story of Job, who endured unimaginable loss. His family, wealth, and health were taken from him, but in the end, God restored him with twice as much as he had before. This is the nature of divine renewal. It is abundant, overflowing, and far beyond what we could hope for. God doesn't just restore what was, He renews it into something better. As we embrace this year of renewal, it's important to remember that it's not just about personal restoration. God's renewal often spills over, touching the lives of those around us. Your journey of renewal can inspire others, offering hope and encouragement to those who are struggling. When you allow God to renew your heart, your relationships, and your purpose, you become a living testament to His goodness and faithfulness. This year, don't be afraid to hope again. Don't let fear of disappointment keep you from believing in God's promises. Hope is the anchor that keeps us steady during the storms, and it is the fuel that propels us toward the future God has prepared. Renewal thrives in an atmosphere of hope where we dare to believe that the best is yet to come. So as 2025 unfolds, open your heart to the possibilities of divine renewal. Trust that God is working even in the places that feel hopeless. Release the burdens of the past, take steps of faith, and hold on to hope with all your strength. What has been broken will be mended. What has been lost will be found. And what has seemed dead will spring to life again. This is your year of renewal. Trust in God's power to restore and watch as He brings forth beauty, joy, and abundance in ways you never imagined. Trust is one of the most challenging yet vital aspects of our journey through life, especially when it comes to walking in faith. The process of life, its ups, downs, twists, and turns rarely unfolds the way we imagine. Yet there is a divine process at work, a rhythm guided by God's hand, orchestrating every detail for our good, even when we cannot see or understand it. To trust in the process is to release the need for control, to surrender our fears, and to lean into the unwavering faithfulness of God, knowing that He is working all things together for a greater purpose. Often, the most difficult times to trust are when life feels uncertain or when we've experienced loss. In these moments, it's natural to question the purpose of our pain or the reason for our delays. We wonder why certain doors have closed, why some prayers seem unanswered, or why restoration hasn't yet come. But the process of restoration and renewal is not always instant. It requires time, patience, and a deep trust in the one who sees the end from the beginning. The process is never wasted. It is in the waiting, in the struggle, and even in the silence that God does some of his greatest work in us. Trusting the process begins with acknowledging that God's ways are higher than our ways, and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. What may seem like a detour or delay to us is often a necessary part of the journey. A seed does not grow into a tree overnight. It must first be planted, hidden in the soil where it undergoes a process we cannot see. In the darkness, it takes root, drawing strength and nourishment before it ever breaks the surface. The same is true for us. When we feel hidden, forgotten, or stagnant, God is preparing us beneath the surface. He is cultivating our character, deepening our faith, and equipping us for the season ahead. There is power in surrendering to this unseen work. It's tempting to try to force outcomes or rush the process, but doing so often leads to frustration and weariness. Trust calls us to let go of the need to control every detail and instead rest in the assurance that God's timing is perfect. He knows what we need when we need it and how best to provide it. Even when his timing doesn't align with our expectations, we can trust that he is never late. One of the greatest challenges of trusting the process is enduring seasons of waiting. Waiting can feel like wasted time, but in God's hands, it is anything but. Waiting is a season of preparation, a time when God shapes us for what is to come. Consider Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his brothers, falsely accused, and imprisoned for years. To anyone observing, it might have seemed like his life was falling apart, yet God was orchestrating every detail. What looked like setbacks were actually stepping stones, leading him to a position of influence and purpose as a leader in Egypt. Joseph's story reminds us that even in our waiting, God is working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances and refining us for his plans. Trusting the process also means embracing the lessons that come with it. Every experience, whether joyful or painful, holds value. The struggles we face teach us resilience, patience, and dependence on God. They strip away our illusions of self-sufficiency and remind us that we are not in control. This dependence is not a weakness, but a source of strength, as it connects us to the one who is limitless in power and wisdom. In moments of doubt, it's important to remember God's faithfulness in the past. Reflect on the times when he has come through for you, even when it seemed impossible. Let those memories serve as reminders that he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. If he was faithful before, he will be faithful again. Trusting the process requires us to anchor our hope in this unchanging truth, even when our circumstances seem uncertain. It's also essential to surround ourselves with encouragement during the process. Seek out those who will speak life into your situation, reminding you of God's promises and helping you stay grounded in faith. The journey can feel long and lonely at times, but community can provide the strength and perspective we need to keep moving forward. Ultimately, trusting the process is an act of faith. It's choosing to believe that God is good, even when life feels hard. It's holding on to his promises when we don't see evidence of them yet. It's walking forward step by step, even when the path ahead is unclear. And as we trust, we find peace not because we know how everything will turn out, but because we know the one who holds our future. God's process is not just about the destination, it's about who we become along the way. Trusting in it allows us to grow in ways we never could have imagined, transforming our losses into lessons, our waiting into wisdom, and our struggles into strength. So lean into the process, trust in his plan, and rest in the assurance that God is always working for your good. Loss is one of the most profound and universal experiences in life. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, a relationship, an opportunity, or a dream, it leaves an undeniable imprint on our hearts. It disrupts our sense of normalcy, challenges our faith, and often leaves us questioning why such pain is allowed to touch our lives. However, understanding loss is not about diminishing its weight or ignoring its impact. Instead, it is about finding meaning in the pain, recognizing its role in shaping us, and discovering how even the hardest seasons can serve a greater purpose in our lives. Loss, at its core, forces us to confront the impermanence of life. We live in a world that often promises stability and permanence, but loss reminds us of how fragile and fleeting everything truly is. While this reality can be painful, it also serves to sharpen our focus on what truly matters. When we lose something or someone, it can strip away distractions and reveal the value of the things we often take for granted. Loss teaches us to cherish the present moment and the relationships that sustain us, grounding us in gratitude for what we still have. But loss is also deeply personal, and no two experiences of it are the same. The pain of losing a job is different from the pain of losing a loved one, and even within those categories, individual reactions vary. This individuality is important to acknowledge because understanding loss begins with accepting our own feelings. no matter how messy or complicated they may be. There is no right or wrong way to grieve, no formula for moving through loss. It is a journey that unfolds in its own time, requiring patience and self-compassion. At the same time, loss often brings a profound sense of vulnerability. It can leave us feeling exposed, as though the foundation we once stood on has been taken away. Yet, within that vulnerability lies an opportunity for growth. When we lose what once gave us comfort or stability, we are invited to look deeper, to connect with parts of ourselves we may have neglected, or to rely more fully on God's strength. It is often in our weakest moments that we discover resilience we didn't know we had, or a faith that carries us when we can no longer carry ourselves. Understanding loss also means recognizing that it is not an endpoint. While it may feel like the final chapter, loss is often the beginning of something new. The pain of letting go is real, but it also creates space for something else to take root. Consider the seasons of nature. When autumn comes, the trees shed their leaves and the scape seems barren in winter. Yet this shedding is not the end of the tree's life, it is preparation for spring, where new growth emerges. In much the same way, loss in our lives can pave the way for renewal, for the birth of something we never anticipated. This doesn't mean that loss is easy or that we should rush to find its silver lining. Understanding loss requires us to sit with it, to acknowledge its weight and give ourselves permission to grieve. Too often we try to bypass grief, masking our pain with busyness or distractions. But true healing only comes when we face our loss honestly, allowing ourselves to feel its depth while trusting that we won't stay in that place forever. Grieving is not a sign of weakness. It is a natural and necessary process that honors what was lost and helps us move forward. Loss can also be a powerful teacher. It strips away the superficial and exposes what is real. In moments of loss, we often gain clarity about who we are and what we value. It can lead us to reevaluate our priorities, to deepen our relationships, and to discover new purposes in life. Sometimes loss forces us to grow in ways we wouldn't have chosen, but that ultimately lead to transformation. It teaches about resilience, about the strength of our faith, and about the enduring power of love. Faith plays a critical role in understanding loss. When faced with pain, it's natural to question God's plan or to wonder why He allows us to endure such hardship. Yet, faith invites us to see loss through a different lens, not as punishment or abandonment, but as part of a greater story we cannot yet see. Scripture reminds us that God is close to the brokenhearted and that He works all things together for good, even when we don't understand how. Faith doesn't eliminate the pain of loss, but it gives us hope that there is purpose beyond the pain and that restoration is possible. Ultimately, understanding loss is about embracing the paradox it presents. Loss is painful, yet it can be transformative. It takes away, yet it can also give. It breaks us, yet it can also build us. While we may never fully understand why certain losses occur, we can trust that they are not without meaning. Loss invites us to lean into life's uncertainties with courage, to trust in God's plan, and to believe that even in our darkest moments, something beautiful can emerge. It is through this understanding that we find the strength to move forward, to hope again, and to embrace the new seasons that await us. Hope is one of the most powerful forces in the human experience. It is the quiet strength that sustains us in our darkest hours, the spark that keeps us moving forward when circumstances seem insurmountable. Hope is not merely wishful thinking or naive optimism. It is a deeply rooted belief in the possibility of a better future, even when the present is filled with challenges. It is the light that shines in the midst of uncertainty, giving us the courage to press on when everything around us suggests giving up. At its core, hope is a declaration of faith. It is a belief that what lies ahead is greater than what lies behind, and that no matter how dire things may appear, there is still a reason to trust in the unseen. Hope connects us to a sense of purpose, reminding us that our struggles are not in vain and that even the most difficult seasons have meaning. This belief is what enables us to persevere, to rise each day with the conviction that better days are not just possible but promised. One of the remarkable aspects of hope is its resilience. It has the capacity to thrive in the most unlikely places. History is filled with stories of individuals who, in the face of adversity, clung to hope and emerged stronger because of it. From those who endured unimaginable suffering in times of war or oppression to individuals who rebuilt their lives after personal tragedies, hope has been their anchor. It is not that these people were spared pain, but that they refused to let pain define them. Hope gave them the strength to envision a future beyond their immediate circumstances and to work toward that future with unwavering determination. Hope is not blind to reality. It acknowledges the challenges and pain we face, but it refuses to be confined by them. It is not about ignoring difficulties or pretending everything is fine. Rather, it is about choosing to believe that difficulties are temporary and that they can be overcome. This belief shapes our actions and attitudes, empowering us to face life's challenges with courage and resilience. When we are fueled by hope, we find the strength to take risks, to make changes, and to pursue dreams that might otherwise seem unattainable. In many ways, hope is contagious. It has the power to inspire and uplift not only ourselves but also those around us. A single hopeful person can ignite a sense of possibility in a community, creating a ripple effect that transforms despair into determination. Hope reminds us that we are not alone, that others share our struggles and our aspirations, and that together we can overcome even the most daunting obstacles. This collective power of hope is often the driving force behind movements for justice, innovation, and progress. For those who walk in faith, hope takes on an even deeper dimension. It is not just a belief in better circumstances, but a trust in God's promises. Hope rooted in faith reminds us that our lives are part of a greater plan and that even our pain and struggles are not wasted. This kind of hope is anchored in the assurance that God is with us in every season, working behind the scenes to bring beauty from ashes. It encourages us to trust His timing and to hold on to His promises, even when we cannot see the way forward. Hope also has the remarkable ability to heal. It can mend hearts that have been broken, restore relationships that have been strained, and rekindle dreams that have been abandoned. When we allow hope to take root in our lives, it begins to replace fear with confidence, despair with joy, and doubt with faith. It shifts our focus from what we lack to what is possible, opening our eyes to the opportunities and blessings that surround us. However, nurturing hope requires intentionality. It is not something that automatically springs forth in every situation. Hope grows when we feed it with truth, encouragement, and faith, surrounding ourselves with positive influences, spending time reflection and prayer, and actively seeking out reasons to be grateful are all ways to cultivate hope. It is also important to guard our hearts against negativity and despair, which can erode hope if left unchecked. When we live with hope, we become people of possibility. Hope gives us the courage to dream big, to believe in second chances, and to see potential where others see failure. It propels us forward even when the path is uncertain and reminds us that every setback is an opportunity for a comeback. Hope does not guarantee that life will be easy, but it assures us that life is worth living, no matter the difficulties we face. In the end, hope is a gift, one that empowers us to endure, to grow, and to thrive. It is the force that keeps us moving toward the future, reminding us that the best is yet to come. The hope doesn't just change our perspective, it changes our lives, infusing them with purpose, strength, and a deep sense of peace. In the presence of hope, no challenge is insurmountable, no loss irreparable, and no dream unattainable. It is the force that keeps us going, one step at a time, toward the fulfillment of everything we were created to be. Restoration is a journey, a process of rebuilding, healing, and regaining what has been lost, broken, or taken. It's not a single moment or a quick fix, but a deliberate and transformative path that requires effort, patience, and faith. Taking steps toward restoration is about recognizing the need for change, committing to the process, and trusting that even the smallest steps forward can lead to profound renewal. It is a personal, spiritual, and emotional endeavor that opens the door for healing and growth. The first step in restoration begins with acknowledgement. To rebuild or recover, we must first recognize what has been lost or damaged. This may mean confronting pain or admitting mistakes, both of which require courage. Denying the reality of a loss or pretending everything is fine only delays the healing process. Restoration begins when we face our circumstances with honesty, accepting the challenges before us while believing that change is possible. Acknowledgement is not an act of defeat, but a declaration of readiness to move forward. Once we've acknowledged the need for restoration, the next step is embracing the process. Restoration is rarely linear or immediate. It takes time, effort, and perseverance. Just as a house undergoing renovation requires tearing down old structures before rebuilding, so too does personal restoration involve dismantling unhealthy patterns, beliefs, or habits. This process can be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Each step, no matter how small, contributes to the larger goal of renewal. Taking steps toward restoration also involves forgiveness. This is often one of the most challenging, yet essential parts of the journey. Forgiveness is not about condoning the hurt or pretending it didn't happen. It's about freeing ourselves from the weight of resentment and bitterness. Whether it's forgiving others, asking for forgiveness, or forgiving ourselves, this step clears the path for healing. Forgiveness opens the door for restoration because it releases the grip of the past and allows us to focus on the future. Another critical step is reconnecting with our sense of purpose and identity. Loss, failure, or trauma can leave us feeling disconnected from who we are and what we were meant to do. Restoration calls us to rediscover our worth and purpose, reminding us that we are not defined by our circumstances. This may involve seeking guidance, surrounding ourselves with positive influences, or spending time in reflection and prayer. Rebuilding our identity and purpose empowers us to move forward with confidence and hope. Faith is a cornerstone in the journey toward restoration. It anchors us in the belief that renewal is possible, even when the road ahead seems unclear. Faith reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles, and it invites us to trust in God's ability to work all things together for good. In moments of doubt or discouragement, faith sustains us, providing the strength to take the next step. Restoration often begins in the unseen, as God works behind the scenes to heal our hearts, align circumstances, and prepare us for the blessings to come. Community also plays a vital role in restoration. The journey is not meant to be traveled alone. Reaching out to trusted friends, family members, or mentors can provide encouragement, accountability, and perspective. Sometimes restoration requires us to seek professional help, such as counseling or therapy, which can be an invaluable resource for addressing deeper wounds. Sharing our struggles and victories with others reminds us that we are supported and strengthens our resolve to keep moving forward. One of the most transformative steps in restoration is gratitude. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we've lost to what we still have and what lies ahead. It opens our eyes to the blessings that remain, even in the midst of difficulty, and fosters a sense of hope. Practicing gratitude doesn't minimize pain, but helps us find light in the darkness. It reminds us that restoration is not just about regaining what was lost, but also about discovering new joys and opportunities. As we take steps toward restoration, it's important to celebrate progress, no matter how small. Every step forward is a victory, a sign that we are moving closer to wholeness. Restoration is not about perfection, but about progress, a continuous journey of growth and renewal. Each effort we make contributes to the larger picture, and each moment of perseverance brings us closer to the life we envision. Ultimately, taking steps toward restoration is an act of hope and faith. It's a declaration that the story isn't over, that there is more to come, and that beauty can emerge from brokenness. The journey may be challenging, but it is also deeply rewarding. Restoration transforms not only our circumstances, but also our hearts, giving us strength, wisdom, and resilience. It teaches us to trust in the process, embrace the present, and look forward to the future with anticipation. Restoration is a journey worth taking. It is a pathway to renewal, a testament to the power of healing, and a reminder that even in our lowest moments, the possibility of restoration is always within reach. By taking deliberate steps forward, we open ourselves to the transformative power of change, allowing us to rebuild, rediscover, and embrace the fullness of life once again. Abundance is more than just having enough. It is the state of overflow, where our blessings exceed our needs and extend outward to others. It is not solely about material wealth or possessions, but encompasses the richness of spirit, relationships, purpose, and peace. The overflow of abundance is a profound and transformative experience that touches every aspect of life, allowing us to live fully, give freely, and embrace the limitless provision available to us. True abundance begins in the heart. It stems from a mindset of gratitude and a belief in the infinite possibilities of God's provision. Many people equate abundance with external success, but its roots go deeper. Abundance flows from recognizing that everything we have is a gift and that there is always more where that came from. When we shift our perspective to see life through this lens, we begin to live not out of scarcity or fear, but out of trust and contentment. This mindset creates the conditions for abundance to multiply in our lives. The overflow of abundance is not about hoarding blessings, but about sharing them. Just as a river's purpose is not only to fill its banks, but to nourish the lands around it, so too is our abundance meant to flow outward. When we operate from a place of overflow, we naturally become channels of blessing. Whether it's sharing our time, resources, or encouragement, the act of giving not only benefits others, but also deepens our own sense of fulfillment. Abundance is cyclical. The more we give, the more we create space for greater blessings to pour into our lives. One of the keys to experiencing the overflow of abundance is trust. It requires faith that God's provision is endless and that He knows exactly what we need, often before we even ask. Trusting in this divine provision frees us from the fear of lack and allows us to live generously. Fear tells us to hold tightly to what we have, but faith encourages us to release it, trusting that the one who provided before will provide again. This trust is the foundation of abundance, transforming our relationship with what we have and opening the door for even more to flow into our lives. Abundance is also tied to purpose. When we align our lives with our God-given purpose, we step into a flow of provision and fulfillment that goes beyond our expectations. Purpose gives our blessings meaning and direction, ensuring that they are used for the greatest good. Living in abundance is not about excess or indulgence. It is about stewarding our resources wisely and using them to make an impact. When we focus on serving others and fulfilling our purpose, we find that abundance follows naturally. The overflow of abundance often manifests in unexpected ways. It is not always about wealth or tangible assets. Sometimes it's an overflow of peace in the midst of chaos, joy in the face of sorrow, or strength when we feel weak. Abundance reveals itself in the quality of our relationships, the opportunities that come our way, and the inner fulfillment that money cannot buy. These forms of abundance remind us that life's greatest treasures are not found in possessions, but in experiences, connections, and a sense of purpose. Gratitude is an essential ingredient in cultivating the overflow of abundance. When we practice gratitude, we shift our focus from what we lack to what we have. This shift not only increases our awareness of our blessings, but also invites more into our lives. Gratitude is like a magnet for abundance, drawing goodness and provision to us. It keeps us grounded in the present moment, reminding us that we are already richly blessed, even as we hope for more. Living in abundance requires a willingness to embrace the unexpected. Sometimes the blessings that overflow into our lives come in ways we didn't anticipate. Opportunities, relationships, or experiences we couldn't have planned for often become the greatest sources of joy and fulfillment. This is why it's important to remain open, trusting that God's plans for our lives are far greater than anything we could imagine. When we release the need to control every detail, we make room for abundance to flow freely. The overflow of abundance is a reminder of the interconnectedness of all things. As we pour into others, we find ourselves filled in return. As we give, we receive. This cycle reflects the generosity of God, who delights in giving good gifts to his children and who calls us to reflect that same generosity in our own lives. Living in abundance is not about striving or earning. It is about receiving with open hands and sharing with open hearts. Ultimately, the overflow of abundance is an expression of God's character. It is a reflection of his limitless love, grace, and provision. When we experience abundance, it is not just for our own benefit, but to demonstrate his goodness to the world. It is a call to live generously, to trust fully, and to embrace life with a spirit of gratitude and joy. In doing so, we not only experience the richness of life for ourselves, but also become vessels through which others can encounter the beauty and provision of an abundant life.